It is almost the end of July. A little overcast today, but it's an early Friday morning. Still consuming my first cup of coffee. The greenhouse is a little full. I moved things away from the house, and in that grouping was a bunch of potted plant things that I still need to do something with, and it keeps going. So that's on my to-do list for today, which is fine. Yeah, a lot of those are intended to be houseplants, and I just doing a really great job of getting them in the house. Okay, so we are going to do a garden tour for July. Things are climbing up pretty high, which you've seen in the vlogs, but from tour to tour it's a little bit different. We will start in the greenhouse like we usually do, except now I need to get around my potted plant mess. My coffee cup is a 64-ounce commitment. So yeah, finishing that is excellent. It gives me a good way to start the day. So over here, I've got watermelon back in the corner that is vining all the way up back there, as well as coming forward to go up this small bit of cattle panel trellis. Got a red noodle bean joining him on here. I think that'll look pretty neat when those start to fill in. I've got some okra on this side as well of the north bed. This one's pretty sizable. And they don't seem to come in at the same time, so the one in back there doesn't have any big enough to harvest. Neither does this guy. My leek flowers are still putting on a show. Yeah. The lychee tomatoes, or the stabby ones. No touching, very stabby. Those are not ready to harvest yet, but they are certainly interesting to look at. Since I cleared out the wonderberries, I've got some room for this Frank's Iranian back here and up here. So they're still pretty tiny, but I'll probably get a flush of them in the fall. Leeks. Here's my black crim. Doing pretty well. This black crim in the front looks happiest. This is my Cherokee purple. He's been coloring up pretty well. And then his cucamelons are growing. So I'm getting a few of those. And then the German pinks are pretty well covered in cucamelon vines. But you can see the one in the back there has some of the tomatoes ready to pick. This one is the Japanese black truffle. Gotten a couple of him, but not too many. This is a determinate tomato. This is the purple heart. He will only grow so tall as I prune the suckers off. And he'll stop growing at some point, and whatever tomatoes I've gotten, that's it. This should be, yeah, this is the sunrise tomato. It'll be a yellow one. He also should be delivering tomatoes later in the season because I did a second sowing of him. Mini-me cucumbers are starting to size up. And then this Firminimus plum has been a really good one. I've used several of those. We made an Iranian stew, and they were like a aroma substitute. They were really good. And then this is the Glacier. I'm not sure what happened here because it looks like these are two different types of tomato styles. because these are almost like cherries or grapes, and those are more like plum size. Well, there's some smaller ones up there. There could just be that variation. I'll have to look. Chives and nasturtiums over here. Then moving to the south bed, oregano's in flush. I've got some sweet peppers. Got a cabbage moth. Rude. And then my peas and cucamelons here. Climbing up. There's something for consideration here in that peas don't like too much water, but the rest of the things over here, like that squash, he's pretty hungry. Peppers don't like too much water either, but the squash is a little closer, so if I'm watering along this edge, the pea gets more water than he wants. Something to consider when you're planting your own space. Black futsu, he's gonna be really neat looking. And then I stopped the pink banana squash vine here so that whatever fruits did get enough pollination can develop and finish their experience. Looks like I have another side shoot vine I need to get rid of. But some of these pretty and sweet peppers need to be harvested. These I thought were going to be lilacs, but they don't quite look like they're getting there. So I'll probably harvest those. They'll still be a sweet pepper. More sweet peppers. And then I wrapped up my chamomile and calendula so that this eggplant wasn't shaded out, because I would like 1 or 2 eggplants. That would be nice. But today I need to go through and harvest some of the chamomile, more calendula. I've been seeing little grasshoppers just sitting inside. It's been pretty funny. And then so far, this one is coloring up nicely. I'm waiting for his stem to harden a little bit more before I finish curing him off the vine. But it looks like these vines are holding up so far. This one looks pretty good except for down there. And I don't know if it's that a vine borer got it or if it's that it sat on that black stone and was rubbed against that in a way that it did not like and needed to heal. I've been keeping a closer eye on the pink banana squash this week around normal schedule stuff, just in case it's taken a turn for the worst, but whatever I pruned off seems to have helped it. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on it over the weekend and this coming week. See how that goes. Go from there. So pink banana squash. Feverfew still hanging in there back there. My tobacco jasmine. Making pretty flowers in here. Kind of falling on some of my hot peppers, but it's okay. This rosemary is having the time of its life. I am looking forward to storing all of that for use later. Then I've got my lemon drop hot peppers, some of which might be ready. Got some jalapenos tucked in there. These brown jalapenos are not ready yet. Jigsaw hot peppers. More jalapenos. I need to deadhead this mini rose so it gives me more blooms like that guy. And then I've got a red noodle bean on this side. Soil temp has been holding steady at 70 degrees. Yeah, greenhouse is doing pretty well, even if the potting bench is a little crowded right now. So that's the greenhouse, and we are going to go check on the garlic and strawberries. I don't think any of those are ready. I did pick a strawberry the other day and enjoyed a nice little snack, and it was delicious. The end was damaged, so I chopped off the end and then I ate the rest, but what I got to eat of it was really tasty. This tobacco jasmine on the east side of the greenhouse has really stepped up its game, which is neat because now I think that by the time the one in the main garden stops its flush of flowers, this will be continuing, and that'll be really nice. Straw flowers are new to me as well, but they sound and feel almost like plastic. Really neat. Coneflower's coming in pretty well. Cosmo. Here's my prairie smoke. And then my blue disc daisy folds up at night, and when the sun comes out, opens up. But you can see the garlic behind here. I'm still waiting on the bottom few leaves to turn brown. And that's true all the way down. I also tied up the chamomile over here because he was shading out some of his friends in the back there. So I've got more rosemary, thyme, coneflower on the other side. Egyptian walking onions. I'm gonna let those continue and move them to a container to share with friends. My lamb's ear has gotten extra fuzzy. This is a good antiseptic. Lemon bee balm. Garlic chives. I am getting some flowers. That's exciting. This has survived its haircut really well. These chives are hanging in there. And then my multi-hue yarrow is a really nice blush color. The shorter one over here is pearl yarrow. More of an antique variety. The potato bed needs to be weeded again. These are about needing to be harvested. I still love this variegation. The leaf color change on this nasturtium. Got some pencil potted yellow wax beans here that I need to harvest. Leeks I need to pull. More leek seedlings. The soybeans are coming up really nicely. My surprise okra over here, doing pretty well. And then I need to tie back some of this amaranth is escaping forward. But it's pretty impressive. It is certainly taller than me now. On the back of the kennel bed, I just mostly have chives, parsley. Yeah, a lot of chives and parsley. Celery. Here's some self-seeded celery. All right, then the flowers I put are coming in. So here's some cosmos starting. I've been really blown away with this Nigelia. It's a beautiful color. Catmint settling in. Here's a straw flower tucked away. Those are weeds, we're ignoring those. More Nigelia. Catmint tucked in there. And then cosmos are flowering. I fertilized the roselle. It's put on some new flush of growth. Ginger's still going strong. And then the sesame has fallen into the path here. Corn is starting to tassel. This is the pollination part, which will collect in the silks down here and make corn. So that's how you pollinate corn. Take the pollen from up here and it falls into the silk. But I've got more cosmos tucked into my ground cherries back here, which are doing pretty well. Nigelia, look at this color differentiation. Got this almost pale and then blue. And then this one's gone to seed. Its structure is super neat. Corn. And then my autumn frost squash. It's gonna be beautiful. I think the oldest seeds that I have in the garden is this spaghetti squash, and it is going bananas. It has reached all the way across to the other side and is now encroaching on the autumn frost squash territory. So it's a little excessive. So I'll have plenty of those for storage and eating during the winter. That'll be nice. So here's this squash arch. I've got one hanging down. Got a little bee hanging out over there. And then autumn's... Well, hello. What are you doing? Autumn frost squashes. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 that I can see, and I think there's another one hiding somewhere. And then spaghetti squashes I have not even attempted to count. There's more than 5, less than 12. So then tucked in here, the tomato plants are doing really well. I've got some golden beets that are also hiding down here. So this is a good example of trying to get the most out of this space. I've got a whole bunch of corn back there. The squash going up the trellis, the tomatoes tied to this trellis underneath. And then at the ground level, I've got several things I'm growing. Beets, I've got some tucked back there. I planted some cumin. I'm not even sure where that's at this point. Maybe, nope, that's this. But then holy basil tucked over there. I also have several weeds I need to pull, but that is a this weekend task. I've got my surprise chamomile chilling here. I don't know what that got mixed in with. It's just the gift that keeps on giving this year. I got a queen lime zinnia. More zinnias tucked in here. Those will just keep coming. More tomatoes. More golden beets down here. My sesame. Some bees back in that squash flower. This squash arch hasn't taken off in quite the same way as its neighbor. I've got cucumbers here making a respectable climb, but they're not quite as tall yet. I need to come out and tie those up some more. But I have few cucumbers to harvest, another zucchini or two. So I tied the zucchini up so it's a little bit off the garden bed now. And that's something I read about, that I'll have to just keep up on tying it or the stalk will break, which honestly, I have enough zucchini. But yeah, plenty of cucumbers to harvest. Beans making their way up. These should be sunset runners. These are Eclipse dry beans, so I'm harvesting them for storage. So I'm going to let them dry out on the vine and then store those. Some flowers on my bush delicata, but I don't see any fruit yet. I've harvested some of this chard. We also did that in our Israeli stew, and it was delicious. The basil tucked back here in the shade is doing much better than some of his friends that are in full sun. And then these little tomatoes are doing really well. So these have been really pretty. I have to remember what I planted here. So this should all be cherry tomatoes along this area. The only place in the main garden I have like sizable tomatoes is the southmost bed. But I tried these mature, delicious. These should be bumblebee blue cream, or these should be blue cream. Are you the bumblebee? I'll have to look. Put it on the screen. These I'm sure are the blue cream. These should be the blue cream cherry tomatoes. Color kind of gives that away. And I feel like you are something to do with bumblebee. I'll check my seed packets. My alyssum back here starting to fill in. Basil looking good. Here's some silver cloud beans starting to make their way up. And this Pluto basil, look at how cute he is. Like a topiary. My Walla Walla, or white onions here, doing pretty well. Need to weed this bed as well. But this Jasmine Nicotina has absolutely blown me away this year. It's gorgeous. The dill here was a surprise, but I'm certainly not upset about it. I like having flowers in the center here. He is noisy back there. Very noisy. But tucked into the flowers here, I've got cosmos, asters down here. Those will flush later. And then these pink swan bush beans are beautiful. Look at this. Look at this color. Especially mixed in here with the pink cosmos, the Jasmine Nicotina. That's awesome. I'm gonna do those again. Soybeans here are getting pretty tall. These will make some delicious edamame. Got some baby bean flushes starting to happen down there. Onions here along the side doing well. And then you should be also sunset runner, making your way up. What's funny is the ones on the south side, where their base has been more shaded, have not climbed up as high as the ones on the more northern edge of that walkway. Those have absolutely gotten all the way to the top. Sunset runners are probably one of the more versatile beans according to their seed packet. So I can eat these fresh or let them dry on the vine and use them for storage beans. But I've been pulling, I don't know, a couple handfuls full of beans every couple days. I haven't grown beans in like a sizable enough portion to be able to store it and eat later. It's always been just enough to have like a side dish throughout the year or throughout the garden season. So I learned how to blanch and freeze beans earlier this week. When you don't have somebody you're learning from, I'm using the internet, I'm using books, YouTube, whatever resources available to you, the skill is able to be learned. You don't always have to have had the family that grew up doing it to learn how to do this. So I hope that is encouraging for you. I need to harvest this Celtis stem lettuce. And then I'm pulling any cabbage worms I'm finding on this dinosaur kale. He's still getting hit pretty hard. I will pull his more damaged leaves when I come through and do the weeding over here. Wonderberries. I have some berries formed, but I don't see any that are ready to harvest yet, which is all right. More surprise chamomile. And this should be a different kind of bean. So I've got a black night runner bean. Yeah, that's on this side. Black night runner bean. And that should be him over here as well. Making their way up. They're a second sowing, so they're not as tall as some of their friends. They're still doing pretty well. This is probably my most sizable bulbed onion. And then I did a second sowing of stem lettuce in the shade there. These should be the blush tomatoes. Been using them in salads, egg dishes, sandwiches. They're really tasty. Here's my second sowing of the Good Mother Stallard. Those are also beans for storage. Another little Pluto basil. Basil I've trimmed back, some alyssum. And I did a second sowing of sesame over here. More basil. And then this in this corner was supposed to be Brad's atomic grape. And I think this is easily distracted by bees and birds. But these are all those blush tomatoes. This one's very excited. It's going all the way up. The Violina rugosa over here, starting to set fruit. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right now, climbing up all the way. My cabbages, some of them look pretty raggedy. I've dried several stalks of celery for stews later, and I've been picking off cabbage worms as I find them. So of all of these, this one is my most beautiful one still. So I'm probably going to try to keep him as beautiful and use him as storage. And any of the more raggedy ones I'll chop up and turn into kimchi or kraut or something. This is my White Island cheese. I couldn't remember what variety this was, except that it's a pumpkin. So here's a baby pumpkin. Sizable flowers. Oh, occupied. Sorry, bud. yeah. Pumpkin plant is also getting pretty tall. I'm due to harvest another one of those round baskets today. I've been getting that pretty full every 2 days, sometimes every 3. And I've been coming out to the garden every day and enjoying little garden snacks and seeing the progress of how things are going. That sparrow is not excited that I'm in his area. And later today or tomorrow, I will be dealing with my potted plant mess that I have going on. Because I would like to be able to use my potting bench, and right now that's kind of not an option. So at the moment, I am enjoying the process of everything that comes in. It's been really nice to be able to get a payback on all the effort that you put in throughout the years, because I started seeds the end of February, end of January. The end of January, I started a lot of seeds, and it was my first year using the greenhouse, which I would say is probably going pretty well. Yeah, I've been really surprised by what I've been able to do with a space under cover. And I've also been surprised because I don't think I took into account how much the light was going to be at least a little bit reduced in here. So I get more heat in here, which is excellent, especially for the peppers, but it's not necessarily more light, which is also excellent for the peppers because they like heat, but they don't necessarily like to be sunburnt. But yeah, I've got quite a bit of enjoyable work for me ahead. And this is not yet the garden in its full glory. End of August, it's going to absolutely be out of control. Towards the end of July, so next weekend, I will be starting a lot of fall crop seeds. I've been thinking about the past several weeks I've been thinking about what I want to go in here in the fall to have over the winter. Things like daikon radishes, a variety of regular radishes, particularly the ones that are frost hardy greens, different salads, some cabbages. In my area for zone 4, something like Asian greens goes really well over the winter. They have a climate similar enough when I've got this protected that I'm able to get a lot of greenery even in the depths of winter. And it's really, really nice to be able to come out to the greenhouse, harvest something fresh as a side to go with your winter meal. The other thing I can do is I can start carrots in here and essentially use this as a root cellar over the winter. So the carrots will just hold their own in the soil. Same thing with the radishes. So the key is that I need to take my last frost date or the solstice date and do math backwards for the maturity date on my seed packet to figure out when I want to start things like carrots or radishes or cabbages or whatever else I'm putting in here. So the thing I've worked out is I've got about 4 more weeks past my first frost date this fall to work with in the greenhouse as far as like additional grow time. Whereas the calculations I need to do for the main garden area are going to be the first frost of the fall. So I need to base those seed packet calculations off of my average first frost date. It's really easy. You just type in your zip code or your postal code and you say this postal code frost date averages, and it'll spit out data for you. And then you pop that into an Excel sheet or whatever your calculation system of choice is and set up your planting schedule. Once you know dates, you can narrow down how many of what you want which things would do best in your region. So for me, it will be frost hardy things. Usually those are good down to 28. If it's frost tender, it is only good down to 32. Both of those are Fahrenheit. So it is, I know, the middle of summer, and I've got another month or two of warmer temperatures. However, it is also the time to start thinking about fall and winter gardening. It's kind of the joy of gardening, is even if you are in the middle of something that you started months ago and you're enjoying the fruits of your labor, there's more. It's the gift that keeps on giving. And for somebody who enjoys just small tweaks to a system and a continuous project to tinker with, that would be me. I enjoy those things. This is a very rewarding hobby. And so if you have been drawn to gardening because of things like that, then I am really glad you're here. And I hope that as you go through your process, whatever the scale of that looks like, and whatever you adapt and learn and change, that you get to walk through your creation and enjoy it the way I get to enjoy mine every day. Thanks for coming along with me on the July garden tour, and I'll catch you next time. The other thing that's coming in are these blush raspberries. My asparagus has gone to seed, which is great. And then I've got these yellow Ann raspberries that are also coming in. Easier for me to forget about the food that's treated like landscaping on the side of the house.